Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. Before I introduce you, I want to give you a little bit of his background. He has been in business financing for 14 years and has helped thousands of entrepreneurs get over $500 million in funds. He founded Integrated Business Financing, a small business lending marketplace that specializes in getting business into the best financing programs they qualify for. He lives in Tampa with his wife and 2 kids, an entrepreneur that enjoys helping other business owners grow and scale their businesses. He owns 2 gyms, multiple real estate investments, and actively invests in digital assets. And hobbies include playing ice hockey, boating, fishing, reading, and spending time with his family. My pleasure to introduce you, Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan, how are you, man?
What's up, Cesar? How's it going?
Good, man. Good. Man, you definitely have a lot going on for yourself now, and I want to definitely tap into that and learn more about all of that. Why don't you start telling me a little bit about your background and your upbringing? How was that for you?
Cool. Yeah. So, background, grew up. My parents were divorced. My dad liked to drink. He basically drank functioning alcoholic until probably about 10, 15 years ago. And then kind of changed it around because he didn't have a choice. He had to. We were raised, basically, my mom supported 3 families growing up. Learned my work ethic from her. My dad was active in our lives, but it wasn't necessarily positive. Or as positive as it should have been, right? So I learned the good from my mom, what not to do from my dad, mix it together. You know, I was a bit of a problem child as well up until about 24, 25 when I met my wife. Played hockey at a very, very high level. Got hurt, started coaching. Worked on Wall Street because I thought that's what I wanted to do. That was a family business. And got out of Wall Street, got recruited by chance to finance and technology, and worked my way up from there, and then just figured out, you know, the right formula to really make an impact in business owners' lives, and that's what I put together.
Yeah. Tell me, when you talk about you're a troubled child, tell me a little bit about that, because I always find very interesting, you know, I believe, you know, our background and things that we go through as you know, in our younger years, really, in my opinion, create who you are now, because either a sense of awareness or there's a turning point in our lives. There's something that takes place that definitely is going to either create this shift to become bigger, better, and or continue to go a negative path, right? So tell me more about that.
Really not a whole. It's not all that exciting, right? So in school, I was probably suspended every year. You know, fighting, doing stupid stuff, like normal kid stuff. I got straight A's, right? I could teach myself anything. I just wasn't challenged, and I didn't like going to school. So I used to go to school in a bathing suit. You know, when we had driver's license, or my friends did, and with a cooler. And as I'm leaving, my mom's like, "Yeah, you're not going to school." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just checking in, so you don't get a phone call, and then I'll be at the beach." So I kind of lived it on my terms, and I did a lot of, like, you know, the stupid things kids do: public damage, setting fires, getting suspended. You know, my household, there was a couple rules: do really good in school, do good in hockey, don't get anyone pregnant, don't get arrested. I managed
to do all of that.
To do all that, right? So I I kind of followed those guidelines pretty well. I obviously messed around, drinking, smoking pot early. That led to, messing around in college too with some other stuff, but nothing crazy. And, it didn't really all click in or set in for me until I had a clear path on what's going to make money, what I like to do. And in early years, I was always chasing money instead of chasing impact. And now all I care about is making the biggest difference I can, because when you help an entrepreneur, you're not just helping him, you're helping his family, you're helping all of their employees, their families, you're helping the community that they serve, and that makes a bigger impact. So that's kind of what shifted my focus, and then growing up, I would say the first 5 years to 6 years in fintech, I worked high level for a lot of companies, consulting or running sales. I got cheated out of equity twice. I had a partner that was embezzling. I had another partner that wasn't doing too much. So I faced a lot of adversity. One of the times, I was in charge of all of direct business and was building everything up. I had a full team going. I had an equity stake in the company, and it was about to vest in 2 weeks. Well, the private equity group that bought that company also bought a broker, and they merged it, and I was no longer required. The president called me in. He goes, "Listen, this is out of my hands. This is the board, but they're getting ready, and they're getting ready before you vest." At that time, I was under contract for our first house, for our first family house, and I had a kid. And then same thing happened. Caught my partner because I left there, went somewhere else. Caught my partner embezzling. Okay, he embezzled about $500,000. Left, went and ran direct sales for a different company. He didn't want to pay what was agreed. I left. Then I started another company called Sprout Lending. It was pretty big. Me and my partner just had different work ethics. He's a good dude, but it wasn't working. And so I rebranded into Integrated, right? So every step, this is over 15 years now, right? So every step of the way, nothing was ever smooth. But when I finally sat down and said, hey, who do I want to help? How do I want to help them? How do I build it? And what I did was I built everything with the end client in mind, right? So think about some of the challenges today. I don't think entrepreneurs have the right education. I think that starts off in school. We're not taught about taxes. We're not taught about good debt versus bad debt. We're not taught what financial programs solve what challenges in your business and help you grow and scale. And so I reverse engineered everything to be client facing. And I built an entire financial services firm in that manner. And ever since I did that, everything's been gravy. But prior to that, I stepped in every pile of dog shit you can imagine.
Right. You said something that I think is crucial, and I couldn't said it better. The fact that you said you were chasing money to begin with, and then you kind of changed those dynamics. And one of the things that I tell people too is that if you're chasing, in this case, if you're doing things for profits, I believe you're doing it wrong. You got to be doing it for purpose, and then the profits will come. And I think that a lot of times entrepreneurs or people that want to get into real estate investing or any business for that matter, they're going after those profits. Like, I want to be able to get that financial aspect of it, which is great. I mean, I'm not saying money is bad. It's not. Except I think when you get into something for the wrong reasons, that can end pretty fast. Or you can have all the money and then you don't have the friends, you don't have the health, you don't have the all these different things, right? And so I think, to your point, you got to be able to chase that purpose, and then everything else is going to come into play. So I think that's huge to notate for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Money is just a tool, right? People don't understand that. It can be used for good, used for bad.
Right.
At the end of the day, the goal is to make your money work for you, not you work for it. Right. And that's the key, not just running a business, but in life in general. Yeah. And when you figure that out, you don't have that attachment to it. You can make decisions more objectively, right? So like one of the things that I always ask people when they're telling me, hey, I need an SBA loan or I need a line of credit. Well, what are you doing with it? And what purpose is it trying to solve? Then I ask them, well, listen, if you do X, Y, and Z, right? I would do equipment financing. if you get this new piece of equipment, how much revenue does it bring? What's the profit on that? Does the profit and the revenue exceed the payment? Does it exceed the cost of the capital? If those things match up, that's just basic education that most people don't know, but that's how you guide decisions. And you could do the same thing. You said investment properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're never going to go buy an investment property if the mortgage is more than the rents, right? That doesn't make sense. In no way, shape, or form would that make sense to do. Well, all financial decisions should be made that way. And the problem is people get attached to it because they're chasing the money instead of the impact. They're not viewing it the right way.
Yeah, no, and actually, that's actually pretty interesting. The fact that, you know, going back to what you mentioned, you know, you want to be able to help other business owners or entrepreneurs, you know, really grow their business, and the fact that you're actually asking those questions, whereas I can probably go someplace else and they're not even giving me that education. I think that's huge because you're not just saying here's the money, or yeah, I'm gonna work on giving you that loan or help you get that funding. You know, anybody can do that, except you're going that extra step. You're actually educating them. Say, okay, if we were to do this, what is this gonna do to your business? And if it doesn't make sense, then why do it, right? And
Yep.
that's huge.
We actually go a step further. We do a cash flow analysis. We have the same software the banks have. We do a soft credit pull. We do a business credit pull. We put all of it into a analysis and into Excel, and we review it with our clients before. We say, hey, this is what everything looks like, okay? And this is what's weak about your application. This is what you have to fix. This is what's strong. And then we show them actually how their cash flow looks, how everything lines up. And what it does is it provides that extra layer of education and gives them a good baseline on which to work towards improvement. And we have a lot more, you know, when you go to a bank, think about it like this. You go to a bank, they might have one or two programs, a loan, they might have a line of credit, they may offer you credit cards. If you don't fit the box, you're gone. If one of those isn't the right program, well, they're not going to educate you on why that is. They're going to say, hey, you could take it or leave it. That doesn't help. Like, there's so many people that are stuck in these positions that get into the wrong program that only makes what they were trying to do with the money more challenging. I'll give you an example. Any business that serves other businesses or governments, think manufacturing, logistics, trucking, anything that's B2B. If they're waiting to get paid, they're net 50 invoicing, net 15, net 30, net 45, meaning they do the job, they send out their bill, and that bill is doing 15, 30, 45 days. A busy company like that is always waiting for cash. So for them to make money, they have to outlay money before they get it. Okay. When they're growing, it's almost impossible to grow, and all those people want is a line of credit. Well, a line of credit is only going to solve that problem for so long before they max it out, right? So what they need to do is something called invoice factoring, and that doesn't cut into their margins. It scales with their business, and then they can get a line of credit on top of it. Banks don't offer that program. Right. So if you went to a bank and did that, you're going to be in the same position, just with more debt and another payment. So it's really structuring things tailored to the business and treating people how you want to be treated. Back to what we discussed earlier, it's not about making money, it's about making an impact. Right. The money will always come. If you have the best intent, right, you might not, like, per client, per transaction, you're not going to make the most amount of money. However, that client will keep coming back, that client will keep growing, that client will keep referring you business. Right. And that's really what we have to get back to as entrepreneurs. I don't care what you do. Mm-hmm. That needs to be the shift. That needs to be the focus, because the companies that are doing that, the companies that stand for the right things, okay, supporting this country, those are the companies that are going to be the next Apples, the next Googles. You know, that's what the focus needs to be. And as an entrepreneur, we get to set the culture with our teams. They go home, they set that culture with their family. They go and they set that culture out in the community. That's what we have to get back to focusing on. Right.
No, I love it. And it's a ripple effect. I mean, I think definitely those principles and those ideas, that focus is what we need in many different aspects. Talking about, the ideas and the principles, and just kind of taking this back a little bit. Obviously, you've gone through a lot of different things, a lot of the downfalls and business partners embezzling money and all this different crap. The biggest thing that maybe a lot of people might ask is, why did you continue to stay in that journey, right? Of not giving up, of what was that motivation? Because a lot of people, like, especially if you're losing so much money and you had all this shit happening to you, people are like, man, just quit, like, right? And you didn't, right? So what was that thing that said, you know what, I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna ride it off until the end?
Man, there's a few things. Okay, one, this is really what I'm good at. I'm a people person. Okay, I care about people. This is how I can make that impact. Two, I have a wife and kids. Okay, nothing's gonna stop me from the mission. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not. And then three, it wasn't when you step into a situation. There are situations that you can control. Okay, and there are situations that are worth fighting through and worth fighting for, and there are situations that aren't. So you mentioned the two gyms earlier in the
Mm-hmm.
intro.
Yep.
Well, I shut both of those down. I am unwinding that. Me and my partners lost about $1.6 million in that venture because one, we don't have the time. It was sold. We were one of the early franchisees. It was sold as passive. It was a very active investment. Anything that disrupts your focus from your main thing costs too much. It doesn't matter what the return is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And two, they just didn't have anything set up. It was terribly run, bad leadership, you name it, it's all there.
Yeah.
So there are times where you should pull the plug, right? And I'll give you a great example. A lot of people come to me and say, hey, I need money. This is what's going on because they're short. There was a problem in their business. One of the things that I have to identify ethically, in my opinion, is even if somebody can qualify for money, if they are putting good money after bad because they don't know how to solve the underlying problem in their business that's causing it to be cash flow negative, well, guess what? They shouldn't be borrowing money. Because if you don't have the answer, if it's not a one-off, like, hey, you messed up your taxes, the IRS is coming after you for 40,000, you need to pay it off. Fine, that's a one-off. Like, you could fix that. When there's systematic problems that you don't identify or you don't know that is causing an issue, the last thing you want to do is take out debt to try to solve that, right? Maybe it's not a good fit. Like for me, owning gyms that I had to actively manage, it's not worth it.
Right.
It's not worth it. So there are times in life that you have to take a step back. Can I control this? Can I fix this? Is this something I want to do? Does this align with what I believe? Or, hey, did I make a mistake, mess up, and should I just, wash my hands of it?
Right. Yeah. And then also, one of the things you talked about, obviously you learn a lot of great things from your mom. One of the biggest challenges you had to overcome was, her death at your early 20s, right? And
Yep.
becoming the head of household. Tell me a little bit about that experience, because obviously when you have that support system or you have somebody that you look up to, and obviously being in this case a family member or one of your parents, and that kind of in the middle of everything that you're trying to accomplish and create, that happens. How do you react to that, and how do you use that to really help you continue to push forward?
It's crippling. Like you don't have a choice, right? So when I looked at that, I had two of my aunts and their kids living with us. I had my brother and my sister. Okay. Now I'm in charge of, you know, everything overnight, right? So I have to one go through probate, move the assets around the right way, pay off certain debts, set up arrangements, and then I have to run everything moving forward. At a very, very early age, I think it was like 2012 or 2014. I can't believe I can't remember, but it was a lot for somebody in their early 20s who just got, I was used to partying, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was used to partying, working. That's all I cared about. And now that shifted my focus, and there was no choice, right? I had to do that because there were so many people writing on it. And that kind of, because it was a necessity, at least in my mind, I got through it, I dealt with it, and I learned a lot from it, right? Each one of those missteps taught me a little bit more. I made some bad investments over the last 2 or 3 years, not just in the gyms, but in some other things. And, what I come away with today after doing that, and I mean, the sizable losses that would make most people want to just stop. What I realize is if it's not something I control or I know or I know intimately, I have zero interest in investing, right? Stick to what you know. Like there are people that do very, very well in niches across all these different markets. Well, that's because they know it and that's where their focus is. I don't do anything passively except real estate now, right? Real estate and lending. That's what I know. Okay, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to divide my focus. That's where my focus is. That's where it needs to remain, and that's where all my monies have to go to.
Right.
And I think a lot of people make those mistakes, right? They're trusting other people or investing in things they don't know. If you go back 2 years, everyone was pitching Amazon stores, right? We all know how that worked out. That was terrible. I had two of them. That was 100K. You can look at Forex. If these guys had these trading systems that were so successful, why would they be selling?
Right.
You have to take things with a grain of salt. I invested in a couple other franchises in the quick serve industry. Disaster. Okay. Why? I have no control. That's not my area of expertise. I'm trusting somebody with a lot of my money, and it doesn't work out. These are lessons that everyone can take from, pull from, and learn. Right? That's not to say there aren't good investments out there. However, you want to play it on the side of caution. You want to invest in things you know. You want to invest in things that you can control. If I took all that money and threw it into my business, and I know for every dollar I invest, I have a 30% return, that's not bad. You can build slow and steady. You don't need the new shiny object.
Yeah. And that's actually good advice. The fact that, and I think that's where a lot of people also kind of lose focus. I've seen it, where people tend to get into so many different things, right? And then you're juggling between 5 different ideas or businesses, and you're trying to see which one's going to hit, right?
And they all fail.
Right, exactly, right? Because you're so stretched, right? And you're not having that main focus. And I like what you mentioned, and that's true. It's like get into something that you can control at the end of the day, and you actually understand, right? I mean, educate yourself and know what you're getting yourself into. So, yeah. So no, that's huge. So definitely right now you're doing actively investments in real estate, and then you have your financing company. Any other things that you're doing right now?
No, just those two things. I'm cleaning up my own balance sheets, and I'm not actively. I have a bunch of properties, but I actually have not closed on anything this year. I'm paying off any type of bad debt associated with past investments, and moving forward, I don't I don't think it's a great time to be pulling the trigger on real estate. I think, especially in the markets that I want to be in, they're very, very hot right now. They're actually overpriced. And I do think that we're going to start seeing that pull down. Now, that's not investment advice. Do your own research, and you could always find deals somewhere.
Right.
I don't have the time to find those deals. And I look for a specific type of real estate. And when the time is right, I will start doing that when I start seeing a little bit more blood in the water. Right now, all I'm trying to do is get as much cash as possible and get ready for when the time is right.
Yeah. So what's your advice? Obviously, right now, we've seen this a lot. There's a lot of ups and downs. I do believe we're also kind of going through some sort of recession. So what's your advice for people, business owners, entrepreneurs to really thrive on this recession or during these moments to be able to come out ahead?
That's awesome. I can give you some really good advice. One, they need to make sure their credit is top notch. Okay, because liquidity markets are starting to get tight. 2, they need to focus on their business credit. 3, they need to do a real analysis of their business and figure out what they can invest in to move that needle. Everything should be centered around the customer. If you can make one customer have an amazing experience, have a wow factor when they're working with you, that multiplies, right? Because if every person you work with has that wow factor, they're going to send everybody they know your way. Okay, so you need to work on your client, making sure they have the best experience possible, and getting that positive word of mouth. We are we're a pretty large company, and 95% of the business that we do, probably a little bit more than 95%, is all word of mouth. It's all referrals.
Huge.
Okay. Yeah, tremendous, right? That's where people need to focus, and they need to conserve their cash. If they have bad debt, they need to pay it. A good way to do that is an SBA loan. Can help anybody with that. The other thing is every business should have a line of credit. Every single business needs access to cash in a couple hours. If you don't have that, that's problematic. After you have those two things set up, meaning there's no more bad debt, you have the line of credit, you look for opportunities to grow, to expand, and I would try to center that around client experience and client retention. Right?
Yeah.
And if you can do that over the next, call it 6 to 12 months, you will come out of this on the other side. And by the way, we're not probably in a recession. We are 1,000% in a recession that could or may or probably will lead to a depression, like 1928 style. And I'm not saying that to panic. That's where the biggest opportunities are, right? So no one should be panicking. You should be prepared.
Right.
And if you can wrap your head around what I just said, and you can plan accordingly, you're going to come out in much, much better shape.
Right. Yeah. And based on that point I just mentioned, I've been talking to a couple other people that also do funding, more so for people that want to either use it for, programs at events or things like that. And one thing that I keep hearing a lot is that right now, funding companies, whether it's loan stacking or credit card stacking, are getting a bit more difficult to give out those loans. Is that something that you're seeing too, or do you believe that's the case? And so is that because of the recession we're living?
Well, SBA raised guidance a little bit, right? But nothing crazy. Lines of credit are a little bit tighter. Term loans are a little bit tighter. I don't advise against. I wouldn't advise anyone to do credit card stack. It's a program that I carried for a little bit. The reason I don't suggest that people do that is because what you're doing is you're opening up all these cards, you're basically drawing them down, and now your utilization rate is through the roof. Okay, so yeah, you have 0%. I get the charging you 10 or 14 points on it or whatever, but you are sitting there, and it's something that can impact your credit. So when you do that, and I understand if that's the only option, do it, right? If you have that much of an opportunity. However, a term loan, in my opinion, is a better way to do that because you're not messing as bad with your revolving debt. It's more long-term debt. Mm-hmm. Second, when that 0% expires, if you haven't paid that off, that's a poison pill, okay? And what you're doing is if your credit does drop substantially and you already took out all that, well, now you have monthly payments and you don't have the ability to access the programs you could have if you did it the right way. And I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. Everyone has their own thing, and I've seen plenty of people do credit card stacking successfully. I've seen many clients use it successfully. But I've also seen the flip side, where there's better ways to do that if you can qualify for it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, Jonathan, if people wanted to connect with you, find out more about what you do, your company, how you can help them, where can they find you?
And you could, Integrated Business Financing is the website, just integratedbusinessfinancing.com. If you look up Integrated Business Financing on YouTube, I have a ton. It's probably 450 plus videos of free content that will help anyone grow their business. Or you could reach out on social, Jonathan Fodera on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and just hop on my calendar.
Gotcha. Awesome. Um, Let me ask you a couple of different things. Obviously, you're pretty successful. You've done a lot for yourself. You've gone through a lot of different things. Are there any specific things that you do on a day-to-day basis to keep you on this positive state of mind? Do you have any habits, rituals that you do?
Yeah. I mean, every year since 75 Hard came out, I've done
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I will tell you, it's life changing because now my kids work out in the morning. Both of them, they're 8 and 5.
yeah.
Um, I'm in better shape. I'll be 37 soon, and I'm in the best shape of my life.
Mm,
Also, doing it, whether I'm doing it or not, I've incorporated a lot of the aspects of it. So, wake up, cold plunge, because I bought the cold plunge. I have it in my garage. Then I lift. Then I usually like to visualize. I work out. I work the day I get in early. I operate off of a hit list of
hmm
like macro level things I need to accomplish. Get home, I read, I pray, after obviously dinner and hang out with my family, and then I go to bed. I've operated on that system for a very, very long time now, and that's helped me dramatically. It also
Yeah,
reduces a lot of the stress. The cold plunge, I can't speak high enough about it because yeah, physically it has a lot of benefits, but mentally it really I wasn't anticipating that benefit, but that's the biggest part is it allows you to deal with stress
mm,
much better,
yeah.
and that's been a game changer for me.
Yeah, I definitely got to do that. I've done 75 hard. So for those of you that are watching and listening to this, check out 75 hard from Andy Frisella. It's pretty awesome and different phases, obviously different stages at times. But yeah, no, that's huge. The fact that you do that. So what would be an advice for anyone that's starting up as an entrepreneur or trying to get out of that 9 to 5? And I'm saying that that's bad. By all means, people enjoy that. That's great. Nevertheless, people that want to venture into becoming a business owner, being an entrepreneur, because if you obviously have a lot of success.
Yeah. So what I would tell you is this: if you have the idea and you know you're going to do it, okay, you're working at your job. You should set up your legal entity. You should start building your business credit. You should design the website, CRM, get everything in check. Okay, get everything built out first before you leave your job. Get some type of proof of concept, meaning you've already gone through the process with a few clients. It's starting off as a side hustle, and then get your credit as high as possible, not just your personal but your business. Before you know you're going to leave, if you really do need cash to fund the business, take out a term loan, open up the right lines, meaning business credit cards, take out a term loan, fund it, and then leave your job. Okay? And what you're doing is you're already stepping into something that's somewhat built so you can start generating revenue day one. Actively manage your cash, keep good books, and focus on what that impact is that you're trying to make. Don't chase the money, focus on the impact. That's probably the best advice I can give anybody that is looking to go from an employee to an entrepreneur. Is that you should have everything built and tested before you make that jump, because it'll alleviate a lot of stress. You'll still have a paycheck coming in, and you won't have a gun to your head. And in those types of situations, you can think objectively, and you will not deal with the ups and downs of what it's like to operate that business. Way too many people start a business with terrible credit and bootstrap. And no one, I can tell you probably 80% of the business owners, and I work with startups, I work with 6, 7, 8, 9 figure, 10 figure businesses, okay, celebrity
Mm,
businesses. And what I will say is 80% of them do not focus on the business credit, and they don't have everything set up. You really need to have that stuff dialed in. And if you're a business owner now that's 2, 3, 4 years, go check your Dun& Bradstreet score, right? See where that is. And then actively try to bring that up. Make sure you have the 5 fundability factors in place. If you need to know what that is, go on my YouTube. You can check it out. I give away all that stuff for free. And now, like when you make that cutover, you have something that works or works somewhat. And so that's the best advice I could give for anyone trying to start
boom.
something.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome, Jonathan. That's huge, huge golden nuggets there. My last question for you is for the people that are watching us and listening to us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing you can say to them so they can start overcoming that challenge?
Uh, Focus on the solution, not the problem. Okay. There's way too many times that people get caught up and can't think right because it becomes emotional. Right. When you focus, it's kind of like driving a car, right? You're gonna go where you're looking. So if you're looking to the right into a ditch, you can drive the car into a ditch. Well, same thing. If you have a problem, it's always good to take a step back and figure out, hey, what's the solution? How do I solve this? As opposed to you keep focusing on the bad shit that's happening. I know it's very easy for me to sit here and say that, and but that is truly the way to get out of that, right? And just have that dog mindset that you're just not going to give up. You're going to do whatever it takes to push through that. Because a lot of times that's the difference between winning and losing is what's your mindset, and then after you have the right mindset, what are you focusing on? Because you're going to get what you focus on.
Yeah, that's huge. Talking about mindset, are there any specific things you can say how you can start working and really working on that mindset? Because I do believe that whatever's in between our 2 years can either make us or break us. Except again, a lot of people do not know how to go about getting into the right mindset. Any things that you can think of that
Just
people.
75 hard. You go and do 75 hard. All right, it'll push you to your breaking point, but you know what? You'll be able to get through it. You'll build that confidence. You know, a lot of times there's a disconnect between what people think they do and what they actually do.
Mm,
Okay. And so what happens is if you're one of those people, and we've all been guilty of it, me especially, hey, I'm going to get these 3 or 4 or 5 things done today. You tend to put things off, right? And so when you put something off, you're breaking that promise to yourself. When you break that promise to yourself, you're losing confidence in yourself. Okay. And so what you're doing is you're constantly kicking the can down the road and you're not building that momentum. Instead, approach it as, hey, these are the 3 musts I have to do today. Do the hard ones first, get through that. Now, what you're doing is you're keeping the promises to yourself, you're building confidence, you're building momentum. And if you can stack day in and day out, if you can keep stacking those little wins, you'll make so much progress at over 6 months or 12 months. You'll be in a completely different situation. And what you're doing is you're building the habit of that discipline. All
mm,
right. And that's why 75 hard is so beneficial because it forces you to do those little things,
right.
right? And anytime you're in one of those situations, you got to put things into 2 buckets: shit you can control, shit you can't control. If you can't control it, don't worry about it. Don't focus on it. Okay. If you can control it, do everything in your power to do that. Even the people that are really struggling out there, you can control if you're working out every day. You can control what you're feeding your body. You can control what you're feeding your mind, right? And by you focusing on those little inputs, you'll perform and you'll perform at a much higher level.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
No, man, I appreciate it. Had a blast.
Awesome, awesome. Well, definitely do me a favor. Make sure that you follow Jonathan Fodera. Check his YouTube videos. Check him up on social media. And also do me a favor. Make sure that you share this message because somebody definitely needs to hear this message. And I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. and know you truly can overcome anything.